How is it going, everybody? This is Sean Barnes. I want to welcome you to episode 53 of The Way of the Wolf. So on the show today, we have a gentleman named Scott Wells. He actually came on almost a year ago. It was the 14th episode. We talked a lot about life and fitness and goals on that episode. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, please go do so. Scott, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so a few things that I want to chat with you about. Last week on the show, we had Chase Banks come on. We talked a little bit about, or a lot about wellness and nutrition and things like that. And I think there's overlap with what you do and with what Chase does. I know you've done some nutrition and wellness, so that's going to be kind of the meat of this episode that we get into. But before we do, what's new with you? What's been going on since we last spoke?
A lot of things, right? It's been a year, feels good to be a gangster, I guess. I've been trying to do my fair portion of procreating, trying to help out this declining population that we have.
How many kids you got now?
I got 5 still.
Okay.
Yeah, still working on it, yeah. But everything's been going good. Gym has been doing phenomenal. With the whole COVID situation and all that stuff, right? I think if you don't understand that your health is one of the most important things right now in the past couple years, right? I mean, what more does it take? What more does it take to show you that, your health has got to be up there at the top priority? So, besides that, honestly, within this past couple days with the Christmas holidays going on or whatever, typically gyms see a big push right now for New Year's resolutions and things like that. But I honestly hardly see that. But this year, man, I've been getting messages on Facebook, Instagram, text messages, people calling me saying, hey, we're getting back into the gym. What do we need to do? And to be honest, man, it makes me feel good. I rarely see that kind of push during the new year, so to speak, kind of like a 24-hour fitness or Globo gym or something like that, But
what do you think contributes to that? I mean, I have my thoughts on why, because of the first thing that comes to mind for me is the community that you've built.
Yeah.
And you've been able to help people understand that it's a lifestyle. LSRF lifestyle. That's what it's all about. But from your perspective, why do you think it is that you don't see that influx as opposed to Globo gyms?
I mean, as cliche as it may sound, it really is a lifestyle change, right? I think when people come to the gym, right, they know it's going to be work. And a lot of times, sometimes people are scared to succeed, right? And they set their goals too high, and I mean, kind of talking about how do you be, what is a successful model moving forward into the new year? How do you see good results? Well, one of them is maybe not setting the goals too high. A lot of times people get this, gung-ho feeling of, hey, I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m, run for 30 minutes. I'm going to train. And Monday comes, right? They're super excited. Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, they're going to wake up. They're going to do it. And by Thursday, they're like, what the fuck was I thinking? Maybe I overshot what I thought I could do. So I would say, make some goals that are attainable, Going back to your original question, like what attributes to that, I think a lot of people just wake up and they get that feeling of, okay, it's enough. I need to make a change. And I have this saying I go into every year. I joke around talking about, don't do the new you this year. You've been doing that shit for the last 5 years and it's not working. Do somebody completely different, And that's the way you need to me, I usually take a laid back approach going into the new year. I joke around and say I don't make resolutions, but I think we all kind of intrinsically say, hey, I'm going to do something this year. I'm going to lose 10 pounds. I'm going to be stronger. I'm going to, and I make those internal kind of goals as well. But if you overshoot your goals, man, you're fighting an uphill battle, Also, find somebody that is better than you at doing this stuff. for me, it's not so much about the health and fitness. It may be, how do I get the message out? So mine might be more of a business related goal where, I'm not very good at marketing, but I need to pay somebody that's going to market better for me, and if I don't get my head out my ass, then I'll just continue doing the same things I'm doing, and, there won't be a change. But I need to do somebody different than Scott.
Yeah.
I need to go get Sean Barnes or whoever is good at marketing to do that for me.
Well, I think that speaks to the importance of self-awareness. I think whenever we're young and teenagers, 20s, and maybe even early 30s, we don't have that element of self-awareness that we do once we kind of get into our late 30s and 40s and so on. Because
43 now.
Yeah. Because I think it takes a while for us to realize where our strengths and weaknesses are. When we're young, we just want to take over the world.
Yeah.
And we're a little bit blinded by the fact that, hey, you're not good at marketing. I'm not good at marketing or social media or anything. And, one of the things for me is I'm thinking about, okay, who do I work with? How do I get some help on the social media side of things? Because, God, it is not in my nature. And so I think that just speaks to self-awareness. Now, as that kind of plays into wellness, I think it's common knowledge that all these gyms blow up in January and then it tapers off. Probably by February, everybody's gone back to their normal lifestyle. I'm curious on your perspective on how do you make it stick? I mean, all of the people that have been with you are kind of LSRFers for life. They always, and even if they move away, when they come back, they drop in. And I mean, you and I have been working out together for 15 years, and I'll drop in, and sometimes I'll come for a few months, and then I get, it just varies. But you've built this community where it's like LSRF for life. So how do you do that?
Man, shit happens. It's called life, and as we've grown up, you've been one of the first members over at my garage. And, I say this all the time, and it sounds like a broken record because the things we do work. So if I came on here and I was saying different things all the time, it doesn't make sense. The podcast probably sounds very boring to people. They're like, oh, Scott is on there talking the same shit. But I feel good, right? And it like I said, as cliche as it may sound, it's really a lifestyle because people don't have that lifestyle of health and fitness first. Who knows? I mean, I meet people and they're like, oh, well, I haven't trained in 3 years. And it baffles me, because I am such a believer, so much so it's like a religion that you have to come in. I mean, it doesn't have to be with me. I don't want to send any cult vibes, right? But it's like, go somewhere and do it, right? And like if I told you tomorrow, if I said, Sean Barnes, no more training for a year, you would go nuts. And it's not about the physical. It's not about the mental. Yes, it's about those. But, one of the things that I really try to approach is, what is the chemical reaction in your body to health and fitness? Your dopamine, your stress levels, your hormones, like, what is your cortisol levels? Because like I said, I'm a believer in that. Whenever you come to the gym, you have that sense of accomplishment, you have that sense of community, you're valued. What does that do for you? It makes you feel good, right? And then now you want to make other people feel good. And it's just a trickle effect. It becomes very infectious. And people around you start saying, oh, well, what are you doing? Because I want to feel good too. And I think, going back to that question, why do you think people are so fed up with themselves? Because I think, to put it, I joke around and say, to put it politely, they look in the mirror and they're like, I don't like the person I see. They might have some other choice words for themselves, but it's like, and everybody, there's no one approach. Some people are like, oh, be super motivated and get up, put on whatever good words you have to hear. You might have to get up and tell yourself, man, I'm fat, ugly, sick, tired, and I better do something or I'm going to die like this. So which approach do you want to take? I think it's completely up to you, but, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Well, I think that speaks to one of the things that I've picked up on, especially over the past, I'm going to say probably 15 years now, where fitness has just been a big component in my life, is it bleeds over into other aspects of our life. Now, whenever I'm trying to think back to how long ago it was. I was at a point in my career, I was working insane hours, 60, 70 hours a week on a regular basis. And I was very frail, emaciated, and skinny, and I worked out all the time, but I wasn't taking care of myself mentally, and I didn't have that work-life balance. And a significant shift occurred whenever I said, I'm going to leave the office at 4 o'clock every day so that I can make it to your 5 o'clock class. And whenever I made that commitment to myself is whenever I started to see improvements in all aspects of my life. And my mind, I had built up, like, I've got to work all these hours so that I can progress in my career. And what I realized is you have to take more of a holistic approach. And whenever I started doing that, and I started pulling back to working 40, 50 hours a week, but taking care of myself physically, mentally, eating healthy, my career kept on progressing. And so I think it's shifting that perspective, but then also realizing these all play into one another.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people that I coach on business and executive coaching and things where, yes, we focus primarily on the business side of it, but well-being has to be a big component because it does all play together.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer in that. And in our society and culture, leading back to what you said, in our society and culture, it is very taboo to take a break. But you said you were working 80 to 90 hours and you took a break, right? You went back to working 50 hours, which is still a lot of hours.
It is.
But you took a break and you said, okay, I'm going to shift it somewhere else. And what happens was you became more successful. Sometimes to move forward, you have to take a step back, take a break, look at, assess what's going on. For me, moving forward, I think that was the biggest thing in my career was, as you know, I was working a ton, and I had to front load that work and training schedule to get to where I'm at now. Now, I always use this term. In the beginning, I didn't know any other way. Now I won't have it any other way. But my work schedule is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. I work 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. Friday, I work an hour in the morning, hour in the evening. Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't work. Even when I do work on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, to me, is it really work? I enjoy it. And it allows me a lot of time to have to myself, have to my family, go chase other, small business ventures that I've been doing. And I think that's the key, like for me, it's like I take breaks. I take 3 naps a day, it's like, when people see, that's why I don't like people coming to work for me because they see what I'm doing now and they don't see what it took to get there. Yeah. So it gives them this false sense of reality where maybe they think, oh, well, man, you can make a living and do this and do that. But if I want to go personal train, I can. If I want to go run and work on Scott, I can. And even with all this time, I still fail. I still fail because there's a point where you can have too much time on your hands and then you start procrastinating. And, sometimes that's, that it bites you because, you have to have balance in everything we do. It's just like the program, right? If you're going to train top, train bottom, train left, train right, train front, train back. It's kind of like what you said. Once you started finding that balance in that work schedule and your training schedule and your nutrition and your, relationships and who you are as a man, everything, it's not just one thing. It's a totality of all of them.
You said something that kind of struck me in terms of the amount of hours that you put in today. And you said how you front loaded, and it made me flash back to the early years in your garage or in your first gym over there on the feeder off of Rayford. And even whenever you opened up the LSRF gym there off of 242, how many hours you were waking up at 4:30 every morning. You do all the classes till like 11. You take an hour break for lunch, take a nap, and then you were doing all the classes till 7, 8 o'clock
we were
p.m.
doing
at night.
back then it was like 10 hours of classes and 3 hours of training. But the mentality has changed now. Before it was like training and stronger, and I was doing all kinds of stuff to recover, but I don't do those things anymore. And now the focus is more on longevity. I even think since last time we spoke, one of the things I've been really studying a lot of is centenarians, like people who live over 100 years old, particularly in like Okinawa, but all the like blue zones in the world where they have a big concentration of people over 100 years old. I believe in Japan, like once you hit 97, you're considered a centenarian.
Okay.
And, but that's the thing, it's like, I want to live for a very long time. I hope everybody can live long enough to say they've lived a long life. But for me, it's like, can I hit 130? Only time will tell.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I think, going back to seeing like, how did we progress to get here? And now, in 2022, when is that? In how many days? What's the day? The 26th? What, 4 days or something like that? I'll have 20 years in the industry, and it's a big milestone, and I'm excited about it. And things have changed. Even though things stay the same, things change. The way you have to. If you ask me, what would I do now? I don't know if I would do my business now the same way I did it back then.
Okay.
Right, but I see a lot of like young guys and young people coming up, and they're always saying, well, man, I can do it better than Scott can, or I can do this or whatever. I'm like,
I hear that a lot.
It just, look, come see me in 20 years. I hope you do. Just come see me in 20 years or 10 years, and that's it. It's like, I don't know if I spoke about this last time, but I don't know if you've read the Talent Code. It talks about if you do 10,000 hours or 10 years.
Yep.
In a particular subject or a profession or whatever, you're considered an expert. And now that I've almost had 20 years, right, I can look back and say, how did this work out for me? And the way I explain it is like this. When I first started, I'm very lucky that I had some foresight, right? Hindsight is 20/20 all the time, but to have foresight, it's a little bit more difficult. I didn't have it in every aspect of my life, that's for sure. But in health and fitness, I've always felt I've been able to fast forward and look at what do I need to do, and have some critical thinking about it. At 10 years, I knew I had to put in my 10 years to get respect, right? Anything less, I wouldn't have gotten that respect.
Yeah.
When I went to the Nike fitness conference in Shanghai, that's where I felt, okay, I've done well, right? And
when was that?
That was,
I remember you going, but
it was like 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
So I had more than 10 years. But the analogy I like to make is when I walked in, the room is this big round table, like this big round room. And I was able to walk through the doors, right? And that's what 10 years got me. It got my feet in the door, right? And as I walked into the door, I'm looking at all the people that came 20, 30, 40 years before me. And I joke around. It's like I'm recognizable. At the time I was bigger. I had these tattoos. They all looked up and they looked at me. And they said, good job, young man. There's only one way you can come through those doors. And that's by at least putting in 10 years. Good job. Now what we need you to do is play your position, make your rounds. Talk to everybody that has been here 20, 30, 40 years before you. So I started making my rounds, right? I'm making my rounds. I'm almost back to the door, but it takes you 10 years to make one round. So what I try to understand now is, you're really trying to learn wisdom, and it takes a long time. I'm going to have to make another 10 rounds, right? And each round, I learned something. I learned a lot. But I'm almost to 20 years. So all the young people that are coming up say, look, just get your foot in the door. It only takes 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Can you wake up at 4:20 every morning? Can you do those things? Discipline, doing the things that you need to do when you don't want to do them. Can you get 10 years in the game? Do you have the patience to make those rounds? Because if you don't, I don't know. You can talk all you want, right? The world isn't changed by your opinion; it's changed by your action. So, if you can't put if your behaviors do not match your goals, what are we really talking about? Like, you can talk all you want. Are you going to talk about it or to be about it? So that's one thing I can honestly say I'm super proud of, and being able to, as the years go on, as you mature, being able to pat myself on my back and take credit for things that I've done where before I was more reluctant to do that.
Yeah. Okay, so something that it actually just hit me. I made a note here that you said centenarian. Is that what?
You're talking about the people that live over,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, centenarians.
Centenarians.
Yeah.
Okay, so my gut tells me that there's probably something to do with nutrition. Whenever you talk about the location in the world where all of these people exist, the first thing that comes to mind is they likely have a highly inflammatory diets. So I think it's anti-inflammatory diets, yes. And so, which is a good segue into nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about nutrition. What are some of the things that you've learned when it comes to nutrition over the years?
So going back to like the geographical placements of these places in the world that have these, higher concentrations of people, like elderly people. Yes, geographics play, there's going to be a argument for everything, right? They're geographically placed in this area. They have means to certain foods. Like, but you live in America, you have means to, like anything we want. But one of the biggest things that I saw, because the nutrition, the lifestyle, like exercise and stuff like that, it's always seems like a given. And even within those communities, there was differences. There was like some people ate anything they want, but they did it in moderation. Some people had a very high intake of fish. Some of them had a very high intake of carbs. But when I say carbs, I'm not talking about French fries and, like dough and all this like junk, that we have, processed stuff. But one of the biggest things that was across all communities was this. It was the sense of community and the sense of feeling valued. So leading back to the community at the gym, that's why I think another thing is going into this new year, find a gym, find people that you can go and that hold you accountable, But I thought I should have talked or spoke about that, but like the nutrition side, what does my nutrition look like? What do I do for people? I do this thing called a fingerprint program, right? So it's your own fingerprint. It's very unique to you. And what I do with people is when I sit down with them, we take your weight, your circumference measurements, your body fat, we take photos, and we do this thing where I sit down and figure out what you do from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, kind of, because it's unique to you, your fingerprint, right? So everybody has a different approach. The goal is here. Some people will say go paleo. Some people will say do zone. Some people will say do count your macros. Everybody has a different way. Like, and what works for you might not work for me. But what I like to do and keep it simple is this thing called nutritional division. I like to take a plate. I like to make a peace sign. You have a 1 part protein, 1 part vegetable, 1 part whether that's a starch, a bean, and like I said, how we program that for you is based upon your day, your goals, what you do when you train, all that kind of stuff. But it's different for everybody. We can sit here and tell you the basic stuff, the common sense stuff, but we also know common sense isn't very common anymore. Like if you tell somebody, yeah, eating McDonald's 3 times a day isn't good, you're like, and they give you like this stare, like, what are you talking about? Man, that's an uphill battle, But health and fitness is an uphill battle. As we speak right now, we have more gyms, more programs, more online shit than ever. But we are the sickest as a nation, as the world, more than ever. So every day you wake up, you're literally fighting an uphill battle.
So what's interesting about that is whenever I think about the United States as a whole, my guess, and I don't know this, but my guess is that we're probably the most obese and sickest population in the world, in spite of having more access to gyms and probably access to any food or nutritional supplement that we want, more so than other areas of the world. I think that's probably a galactic can of worms that might not want to get into, but it is something of note. I'm curious on why you think that is.
As you're saying it, like I still think it leads back to, there's a big push on mental health right now, right? Anytime you take a society and lock it up and tell them you can't do things, you're going to get some
challenges around mental health,
right? You're going to get some people saying like, don't do that. So, or don't tell me what to do. And, I like to use this analogy. I'm originally from Singapore. Well, Singapore has it's small, right? So I look at it like this, and everybody might not look at it like this, but a couple years ago, they put this, what's it called? A curfew on us, right? Where you say, okay, you can't go out past 12. And my cousins, I would talk to them every day, and they would say, oh yeah, it's normal over here. Like, what's wrong? And I said, it's different, man. Over here, like, you can't tell people, you can, but you can't tell people what to do, right? I said, over in Singapore, if somebody's walking around 12 o'clock at night, the police come and they say, hey, you need to go inside. There's a curfew in place. 99.9% of the time, they're like, okay, sorry, we're going to go in. No big deal. Because they're raised in a society that's meant to do that. Over here, we are in a society that is, looked upon as like, we will challenge authority. So you're walking around 12 o'clock at night, someone says, hey, you need to go in. I'm like, fuck that, don't tell me what to do. Now you got problems, one way or the other. And like I said, I think it all leads back to this like mental health thing where people aren't getting outside. They're not training with the elements. They're not, happy in their home life. They're not happy with their job. We've talked about this in the past where your cortisol is your flight or fight response. It's supposed to be in your system, out of your system. But when you have it in a slow drip of it all day, it's the same thing. Just like dopamine and anything else, it becomes very infectious. So now you start having second thoughts about yourself. You start saying like, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to do this. I don't want to, I don't care about anything. I've been a victim of that, probably more so than a lot of people. But at the same time, how do you overcome that? To me, it's by having a good foundation around you, a good sense of community around you, where I can tell you this, like I told you, even the hours I work, I don't feel like I work because I look forward to seeing people every day, the people that train with me. I always tell people when they ask me, well, what do you do? Man, I wake up every day and I live. It's not that living needs to be an essential part. You just don't need to be there. You need to live, right? Are you dying to live or are you living to die? And I mean, those two statements are very different. So if people do not like I said, moving forward with this goal in mind of how do people stay motivated? How do people make this change for themselves? If there's part of me that, I have this fight within myself, because there's part of me that says, well, shit, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. But don't be a person that complains about being miserable. But then there's the other part of me that anybody that walks through those doors that wants help, we're going to help them, So it's just finding a balance. And
So, I actually got a question here. What's the biggest challenge that you see people struggle with, and how do you overcome it? And as I think through the topics that we've been discussing, community keeps coming up. Mm-hmm. And you said, find somebody who's better than you at it earlier. I think that's something along those lines. I think that is probably one of the most important aspects of starting anything new in life, but especially a new fitness program. And anytime I have conversations with people like, hey, can you give me some tips or guidance? Mm-hmm. My guidance is always, hey, go find a gym that is based around community. I mean, CrossFit did that to the world in terms of bringing communities together. Mm-hmm. And I think other gyms and gym owners picked up on that. And so now you see like F45 and LSRF. And I'm not saying that you guys do CrossFit, but there's the community aspect of it that you've built. And so my recommendation is always go join a community-based gym, because you're going to surround yourself with like-minded people. You're going to make new friends in the process, and there's going to be group accountability. Mm-hmm. I mean, with me coming and going from LSRF, I still to this day get text messages, hey, where the hell you been? You ever going to come back?
I always see people, I always see people on the on social media, mainly talking shit to you. It's like, so myself included.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's such a big, crucial component. And I feel that's just an important aspect for all of you listening to the show. If there's one takeaway, at least from my perspective, find a gym that is very community based if you want to be able to stick with it.
Well, think about it like this. You're not really building a brand, you're building a culture. And like you said, it works for anything in life. If you, think about when you go apply for a new job, you come home and, your wife, girlfriend, whoever there say like, hey, honey, how was it? He's like, man, met with the boss. I love the boss. The people were awesome. I got to meet people at lunch today, and man, I can't wait to go to work. I really like it. Because, that community is there, right? You feel like you like the coworkers, everything. But I mean, imagine on the other side of the spectrum, if you were to come home and they're like, I got the job, but man, my boss is weird, and the people that work there are fucking weird. Like it's, even though you got the job, it's just not as, you're probably not going to be working there very long, right? And it's like that with anything. I mean, you have to have that sense of feeling valued. I mean, it's not, that's the only reason we've been somewhat successful, is because if you go to the gym, you're not going to set a PR every day, and not every day is going to be a good day. Majority of the days are going to be very mundane, right? They're going to be you going through the motions and pushing yourself. But I mean, you're not going to set a PR. I always talk, you hear me say this when we do sprints, and it's like anything we do. But in sprinting, you have training effort and you have event effort, right? My 70 or 80% training effort is very different than my 70 or 80% event effort. Event effort is for the event. You do that every now and then. You think someone that goes and trains for the Olympics is going out and running the 400 the fastest they can run it every time? You can't recreate the atmosphere, the cheering, the competitors, right? So the main thing is trying to get it in every day. Don't focus on results. Focus on how many times you can come. That's the biggest, like for me, that would be my biggest message, is get away from focusing on the results and focus on coming. See how many times you can come, the consistency of showing up, and don't think about it like this also. Somebody that trains 7 days a week is still considered sedentary, in my opinion. But you're like, man, they're training every day. Don't do but it's your lifestyle. I can go train an hour and not do shit the rest of the day, and that's not going to do anything for me. So we start breaking it down into, instead of how many days are you training, how many sessions are you doing? You can get up and walk for 30 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, and that's a training session. I can do literally 5 minutes of burpees and be blown to hell up, and that's a training session. 5 minutes, do 5, and guess what? If you can't get 50 plus burpees in 5 minutes, that's okay. Do jumping jacks, do mountain climbers, do something, stretch. That's all part of having this inclusive lifestyle of putting your health first. It's not just, I used to say health and fitness, but it's because fitness is very important to me, but your health can be maintained in so many different ways from, we talked about this last time, the 3 things that are most anabolic for your body are sleep, water, and flexibility. What are the 3 most neglected things? Sleep, water, and flexibility. And guess what? They're free. You can do those anytime you want. You can get water anytime you want, and people just don't do these things. Start with the simple stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I pick up on is, like, people will look at someone like me, for example, because I do train by myself a lot. And I'm aware of the fact that that's not exactly the norm. Now, you're always going to have meatheads in the gym that just go in and train whatnot. But also, I think about, it took many years of programming, not in terms of weightlifting programming, but programming of me mentally to get to a point where I can go out into the garage by myself and crush it.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to be able to start from a sedentary lifestyle and just jump into it and push themselves. They're going to get up at 4:30 a.m. one morning and think, okay, I got this. But by Thursday, they're crushed. And I think that also speaks to just the importance of community and that group accountability, which I think is huge.
Well, you're very different also. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that there's only, the first 10% of people are innovators, right? And they have that mindset to be able to get up and go do those things on their own. You don't have to push those people. And we have innovators in every, aspect of life, whether it's going to work, going to work out. Could be somebody going on a new diet and they say, I'm going to switch from being a carnivore to a vegan, and they say, okay, I'm not going to eat any of this stuff anymore. A lot of people can't do that, but there's 10% of people that are strong enough, right, mentally to say, I can do it. You're strong enough to do it, right? I mean, and success leaves tracks, right? Like you started this podcast, you eat very well. People might see you and they say, okay, well, he just trains by himself all the time. And all you're going to show these people, right? You keep people, or how's it? You attract people with the qualities that you display. You keep them with the qualities you possess. So these things that you possess are very intrinsic and they're unique to Sean. But the people look at this out from the outside looking in, they see that and they say, how can I be like Sean? In reality, you're nothing like Sean. You're going to have to learn how to be like that, just like Sean learned how to be like that. So it's a slippery slope because everybody wants, to snap the fingers and have it. And I remember I watched this thing on HBO where they followed this homeless man around for, I believe it was 9 months, right? At the end of the 9 months, they gave him $100,000, life-changing for him. They followed him around for season 2 for another 9 months. And at the end of that second 9 months, he was more broke than he was when he was homeless, right? And I always ask people, why do you think that is? is because he had no concept of money, right? He didn't know the recipe to get it. That's why I said, hey, if you want to take the money from the rich, give it to the poor, go ahead. In a year, it's going to be back in the rich's hands because they didn't know the recipe to get there. So relating it to health and fitness, if I could snap my fingers and give you the body you want, the physique you want, the health you want, would you know how to keep it, or would you wind up like the bum and be worse off later on because you didn't know what it took to get there? You see? And that's why you're trying to teach people this lifestyle. I think all we have done at Live Strong, Run Fast is made it easy and applicable to apply this, lifestyle that we've shown people, this training, traveling, trying new things, because you need to have fun along the way. If you're not having fun along the way, like, who wants to train hard and not be rewarded? I've been to Chinatown the past 4 nights. You think I've ate good? I've ate good, yeah, but it's like eating good in the wrong way. So it's, but I know it's a holiday thing. And like I said, I'm going into this new year a little different. I'm not as laid back. Even for myself, I feel like my fitness level right now, you see me running, you see me doing all these things, I still consider my fitness level around a 4 or a 5. It's not like what it used to be. I don't want it to be like it used to be. When you tell me to come deadlift heavy, not only do I not want to, or I don't want to, but I know there's other ways of getting in shape that are, applicable to me. Mm-hmm. So I want to raise my fitness level to like a 6 or a 7. Mm-hmm. But on the outside looking in, people might look at me and think I'm a 10 or something. I don't know.
It's all relative.
Yeah, it's like, and we're not talking about looks, right? I hope I'm a 10.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's all relative, because for me, I know that, sticking on the subject of running, when I first started running, it was a little tough because I hadn't done it in a while, but all I did was grease the groove, right? I did it a little bit more, and I didn't have to do much to improve a lot. Because that curve is steep. In the beginning, if I just went and ran every day, I would improve my time. Mm-hmm. But now I'm running, I know I can go out there and run sub 7 minute, right? But now to run sub 6 minute, man, that's going to take some work. It's going to hurt, and I have to ask myself, like, what do I want to give up? Because sometimes your health and fitness can be the cruelest mistress. It requires a lot of your time, right? But not to say that there isn't benefit in other parts of your life, because I know if I started, training a little bit more, what would happen? My body fat would drop probably, I would get more relative. I'd probably feel better, which would then make me want to, would require me eating better, which then would require better, because the subsequent, reality of it is that if I started eating better, I'd probably have better mental clarity. I'd probably start thinking better. I'd probably be in a better mood, which then relates to my clients, which relates to, my relationships with my girlfriend, my kids, or whatever it is. And that's the way I feel. It's a trickle-down effect. But some people don't even know what it's like to feel good. How do you know you're fucked up? You eat healthy and then you get sick. Yeah. Right. It's like, but it's like you have to, and that's the thing. We just show people this lifestyle of, it's not as stringent and like, you don't have to be so strict on yourself. It's okay to take a break, and that might be on anything, but going into it, you might have to front load a little bit and dedicate some of that time to your health and fitness. And then later on, you can take a little bit of breaks here and there. It rewards you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's do this. Let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk about other business ventures. Mm-hmm. So obviously 20 years ago, and for the first probably 5 to probably 10 years of LSRF, you front loaded just massive amounts of work and research and study and developed the programming methodology that you have had for the past probably 10, 15 years. And you've kind of gotten to a point now in recent years where you've started branching out into other business ventures.
Yeah.
What's that like? And what are some of the things that you're doing now?
Well, you know, I never tell people I have like a rags to riches story to tell people, right? Because it's not like I started from the bottom, now I'm here, right? It's nothing like that. Now, when it comes to health and fitness, yes, I can say I put in a lot of work, but because I put in a lot of work, I was able to do some other things like investing and, right now, as of late, me and my family do a lot of stuff together. Okay. So my mom, my dad, my sister, right now we're getting more into like development, getting our feet wet with that. We have apartments that we're building up in College Station. We have a lot of land that we're looking to develop after this. It's just diversifying yourself, right? And it's just like anything else, if you get into it, it's like stocks, right? If you get into something, do you throw it all into one thing? No, it's like you just try to diversify yourself. But some of these things that we've got coming up in March 2022, our first apartments will be done. Just signed the property management contract the other day with a company up in College Station, and they'll be doing that. I'm excited to learn a lot. It's like you have to evolve as a person, right? It's like I'm excited to learn a lot of these things, and along the way, it's what I'm learning is a lot of businesses are the same, right? And the things that I'm learning in these other things, other ventures, I relate back into health and fitness. I look at everything as health and fitness, right? But even the investments, I think I had used the term earlier that I try to do a better job of stepping back and doing more strategic thinking, because in the beginning, when I was younger, and you'll kind of relate to this, is when the .com stuff happened. That's when we were like young, 20, 30 years ago, right? Well, I didn't have the knowledge, and I didn't have the funds, really the knowledge, right? I'm a kid at the time, and I didn't know how to take advantage of the .com boom, right? And then the next big thing for me was like the 2008, right? Whenever the crash happened, I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the funds to do anything then. As time went on, I did some investing with homes or whatnot, made some money. But then this whole thing happened with just recently in the last 2 years with the virus stuff, right? Well, what did we see? We saw the real estate here boom, and people from the coast and everywhere were moving into Texas. Well, just at that time, I was building a house, and I went in, I bought the biggest lot in the neighborhood, building the house that I wanted, and they put it on the lot. And I've always wanted a huge backyard for my kids. When they put the house on the lot, it became a very small backyard, very big side yards. And I said, you know what? And I got emotional. I said, I don't want that. That's not what I want. This is what I'm working for. That's not what I want. And I took away that. I said, just scratch the contract. I don't want the house. But if I would have sat back and critically thought about what was going on in, basically global economics, domestic economics, I would have saw that everybody was moving in here, right? And it could have been an investment. I could have bought that house for $450 and sold it for $600 maybe, right? But because I didn't sit back, or I wasn't able to critically think, I let an opportunity pass me, and I said, there's no more. I have to sit back and think, right? So now, I know we were joking about like the crypto and DeFi and all kinds of renewable energy stuff, and it's like I started investing into this stuff because I said, you know what, now I have the funds, I have the maturity to sit down and knowledgeably, think forward. I started putting money into some of these different things and investing with my family or whatnot. And that's where I think moving forward, I was able to just critically think. The bread and butter is still live strong, run fast. You know, I still every new year I think, what are we going to do for this next year? And to be honest, like moving forward in this year, I think one of the biggest things I would like to see is maybe going online more. Mm-hmm. You know, and I don't know, that might be a challenge all in its own, you know, because that's going to require more time, you know, more of my time, which I don't like to give up. You know, I love my time, you know, my time alone. Like if I don't know if I could go work a regular job now. I think I would, literally have the equivalent of PTSD. Like I wouldn't know how to function in a normal society.
Yeah.
You know, as far as like going and working like a 9 to 5, mm-hmm. You know, I don't know. I would be calling you for some coaching tips.
What is this all about? Why do people do this?
Yeah. I always joke around about with, you know, I went and worked with Nicole's dad for a little bit, mm-hmm. and I didn't make it 12 hours. Yeah. You know, I literally was like, there's no way people do this shit every day. I was like, this is crazy. And the people that got paid the least were working the hardest, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, these people are working like on overdrive. Mm-hmm. Couldn't even keep up with them. Yeah. And it's like, you know, 10 hours, not even 10 hours in, like 5 hours in, I'm in my slacks, my shoes, look nice. I haven't done a squat. I haven't done anything. And I'm like, man, my legs hurt like shit. What is going on? It just baffles me, man. Mm-hmm. You know, you want to mess me up, just take away like a healthy lifestyle. Mm-hmm. But most people are living like this every day, day to day. And I don't understand it. Yeah. You know, but one thing I do understand is being healthy, and it doesn't have to be me. You know, when you get out there, find somebody that will help you. Mm-hmm.
So you touched on something briefly there as far as goals for next year and wanting to do mm-hmm. more online. What other goals do you have?
I mean, there's so many, you know, it's like I try to break it down. You know, I try to break it down and say we have like business goals. You have like family goals, right? You have health and fitness goals. So, and there can be number ones in all of those, right? I mean, there's, you know, for me, like, I would say like the biggest priority for myself, you know, is just being, I mean, look, this may come off as super simple to other people, you know, because we all kind of like have our own demons and fight things, you know. But for me, it's like just improving upon like my family life, you know, being a good boyfriend, being a good dad, being, you know, a good Scot, you know. And like I said, for a long time, man, you know, are you going to be happy with the person you see in the mirror looking back at you? It was hard for me to take praise or, you know, just even like laugh. You know, people are like, why don't you laugh? I'm like, I am laughing, motherfucker. Leave me alone. You know, but now it's like I'm a big believer in the Chinese horoscope, and I'm a horse. Okay. And when it comes to Chinese horoscope, and they say maturity comes very late to horses. And now the maturity, you know, looks like being able to take it easy on myself. You know, somebody was in the gym the other day, and somebody said, yeah, I was telling them about you, and they said, damn, how old is Scott now? He's got to be older. But it's your perspective. He said, what would you, you know, I said, this is what I would probably tell those people. Like I said, you know, at 43 years old, I have 20 years in the game. I have 5 children. I've traveled the world. I've had a divorce. I've had some good times. I've had bad times. I've overcome drug addiction, like steroid addiction. I have built a community that I absolutely love. I've got good investments now, getting into different business ventures. And at 43 years old, I don't even feel my life has started. I feel the best is yet to come. And it's like, I truly feel that. Like, I feel like I'm, even though it took me 43 years to have all these life experiences to put together now to say, it's time to move forward. It's time to be the best version of yourself. And, you know, that hasn't always been easy for me, you know, because, you know, you'll look on social media and see a smile or whatever, but remember, social media is it's the devil, right? It's the new depression. A smile doesn't always mean a smile, you know, and that's just because you see somebody on there and that you think they're happy, what they're portraying, I mean, you just don't know what's going on behind closed doors, right? But yeah, like, to be like the best version of myself, you know, I told, you know, one of my biggest goals this year is getting, you know, I want to buy a bigger house, not because I want a big ass house, but because we're outgrowing, you know, the one that I'm in now. Like, just the kids are, you know, getting older, and it's just, you know, I want to live out the life that I want, that I portray and that I see in my head, you know. But as far as the business, you know, we're just going to keep it rolling. We're not, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? And it's not broke.
Yeah.
People, we have I tell people we have the fountain of youth. When did you start with me? 15 years ago, right?
About 15.
Do you realize in this conversation, you have given me a testimonial that most people give me, and you haven't even realized it. What did you say when you first started? You're working long hours. You know, you were skinnier, you were frail, you were all this and that shit, right? Mm-hmm. This is the best version of Sean I've ever seen. We have the fountain of youth.
Yeah.
Most people that train with me will tell you they feel better at 35 than they did at 25. You know, I mean, some of these people are the epitome. I value everybody. You know, Brittany, she looks better now than when she started. Cholet, you know, Taylor, this dude looks like a fucking Abercrombie model, right? I don't even want to be around this dude with my shirt off and he's got his shirt off. I'm like, shit, make me feel bad, right? And then, and that's just, you know, and that's not even talking about the people that have come in, you know, and lost 5 pounds. Mm-hmm. I had a lady this year. Remember, I told you it was hard for me to accept stuff, right? Mm-hmm. I had a lady named Steph. She's a school teacher. She came in and gave me a gift. And I'm like, why am I getting a gift from someone like that's not my family or whoever, right? And it was the coolest gift. She's a science teacher. She made this little wood thing with just a beaker in it and a plant in it. Mm-hmm. And I love these unique gifts. It was so fucking cool. And I was like, and she said, I just wanted to give this to you because you changed my life. That's why you get into it. You don't get into it to get fucking jacked or lift 300 pounds, whatever the hell it is, right? You know, and it's, you know, I get those messages sent to me where it's like, you know, keep going. It's an uphill battle, but remember, you know, God gives his strongest soldiers his hardest tasks, right? You're fighting this uphill battle every single day. You know, people are sick, people are fat, mentally challenged, whatever, you know, they're, but I truly feel like when you come in, you know, not just to my gym, any gym, and you find that right community, you might come in mine and it might not work for you. Joke around. I tell people, you might not like Chinese people with tattoos. I'm not going to get that person, you know, like go to a different gym. There's a ton of great gyms around here. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the other thing that I've seen lately. Like, so many people around here are like kind of like gym bashing. And I'm like, man, why are you doing that? Like, everybody has, you know, why would I talk shit about somebody that's trying to do the same thing I am? Mm-hmm. You know, I tell this story about how, you know, in the beginning, I wanted to change the world through health and fitness, and the goal is still the same, but it's like, I thought I could do it all on my own. But as maturity came and humility came, I realized I need these other people, you know, just like they need me.
Well, I think it's, you know, whenever we're younger and starting out and trying to take over the world, ego plays a big role. Uh-huh. And it's mine's better than yours. You've got to come to me type of a thing. You know, I'm the best type. Well, as you've aged and matured and gained that wisdom, you've come to realize that your goal, your ultimate goal, is aligned with Henry, with PRX. Is that still a thing? I don't know if it is.
I don't know.
So with these other gyms that are just trying to help people become the best versions of themselves. And so ego starts to kind of take a back seat, and wisdom is coming in and it's like, hey, we're all here trying to accomplish the same things, which is help people out and help them become the best version of themselves.
And I think sometimes you're like, I'm confident, don't get me wrong, right? Like I tell people, you can have 1 million of them. It's not going to make one of me. It's not like a knock on anybody. It's because I know what I have sacrificed to get to where I'm at. That's why when people are like, oh yeah, you know, I can do it better than Scott. Okay, fine. I'll be the first one to take you to lunch. Just, you know, call me up 10 years later when you're still doing it, or 20 years later when you're still doing it. And, you know, only time will tell.
Yep. All right. So before we wrap this up, is there anything else that you would like to share with all the listeners?
Oh man, there's just how do you wrap a lifetime of goals and values and sacrifice into like a closing statement, right? I don't know if I could ever, you know, give enough advice. Sometimes, in my opinion, sometimes the goal is not to give advice. It's just to show up and tell you, hey, I'm going to help you. I can sit here and tell you that, you know, we're going to do this and that and this and that for you. But until you intrinsically find that motivation, that drive, you know, there's a saying that says, when you're driven, you will never need a wake-up call. And I'll tell you the same thing that I tell every single person. You know, when they come into the gym, they ask me about it. I said, I want to be able to look you in the eye, shake your hand, and say, show up, I'm going to take care of you. And trust me, you know.
I love it. Well, Scott, thank you so much for your time today. I want to thank all the listeners. We're starting to grow. We're continually month over month getting more downloads. I just cannot thank all of you enough for all of your support, all the feedback and comments and reviews. Thank you so much, and y'all have a good one.